Morning from Doha. Hi. So thank you everybody for joining the ACE 2023 conference, and in particular our panel discussion on the impact of AI and ChatGPT in revolutionizing education. I want to start by welcoming my colleagues, Sean McMinn, who is the director of the Center of Education Innovation at the University of Science and Technology, Tati, Wardi, head of the Master of Education program at the International Islamic University Indonesia, Justin Sanders, senior academic program manager for the Minerva project, and myself, Murielle Hajj, assistant professor at Lusail University and director of Lusail University Press. We will start by presenting the ethical practices of using AI and in particular ChatGPT in the Qatari context. Then Sean will discuss these practices from the ethical perspective in his context. We will continue with Tati, who will provide us with tips on how we can integrate ChatGPT in the teaching and learning setting. And we will conclude with Justin, who will provide us with the insights about how we can and how ChatGPT and AI in general will shape and reshape the educational setting. I will share my screen. One moment. Okay. So, as you already know, in the past decade, we witnessed a surge in the prominence of artificial machine learning technologies in academia, which triggered discussions about their implication. In a recent study, ChatGPT and similar technologies that generate information in a relatively meaningful textual form have the potential to create ethical violations, which is a serious cause for concern. Ethical problems are related to both academic knowledge production processes and academic education teaching processes. On the one hand, the production of scientific articles with ChatGPT is a huge concern and problem nowadays. And on the other hand, the students are using ChatGPT in their assignments, which raises concerns. Mm-hmm. So I will highlight the perspectives within the higher educational setting in Qatar from my experience, and I will focus on the policies and practices that we use and that we implement about regarding the integration of AI, particularly ChatGPT, among faculty members and students. We have a tough policy regarding plagiarism and cheating for faculty members and for students. And nowadays, AI tools, and especially ChatGPT, are linked to this academic dishonesty. For example, the use of ChatGPT in preparing course content or in generating or producing research papers, this became a huge concern. From at the level of if it's used by faculty members and the students using ChatGPT in their assignments, from case studies to research projects, it's also another concern. So how does AI's use breach the learning process? In a study published by Shami also in 2023, the use of AI and other technological tools does not inherently hinder learning. However, the critical factor is how we use technology, how we use AI, while maintaining academic integrity. For example, if we use AI in course content or in a research paper, we may have an inaccuracy or misleading or fake information or a fake source. And also not attributing the authors for their work is a plagiarism. And sometimes if the information is not accurate, this will not help the students. Of course, it's not good. And also the students will not be understanding the course as it should be done. So, what are the ethical standards for faculty members that we apply here in the Qatari context? First of all, we have policies about how we can integrate AI in teaching and research. And preserving ethics is a huge priority. First of all, these policies, they prohibit the preparation of course content and research based on the use of AI without, for example, citing the sources or copy pasting from any other program. For example, if we want to use even a textbook and to prepare our course content, we must write in the reference that this is the sources. If we use also electronic resources, we must specify in the references at the end of our PowerPoint presentation the tools, the sources that we used to prepare this course content. So referencing is mandatory. We have also disciplinary policies and disciplinary committees in case any faculty member violates copyright or violates ethical practices. This university disciplinary policy applies to all the faculty members at the university. Violations such as plagiarism, of course, if we have any other violations, this also applies. But in the policy, violations such as plagiarism trigger disciplinary measures, and this has an impact on the career of the faculty member, the promotion file, because if any faculty member underwent a disciplinary committee, this will impact on the promotion file and the advancement opportunities career-wise. And also these disciplinary measures are very severe. This also applies to our students. For example, we start the semester by clarifying to our students in the course syllabus. We have a part which is related to academic integrity policy. So we include this policy in the course syllabus. We explain to them dishonesty, plagiarism. We have to guide them. It's about what? How, when we consider that you are violating the academic integrity at the university, from cheating to copyright infringement to submitting identical work across courses, and we can know that through the Safe Assign on Blackboard. Also, we can know if we provided them with an individual assignment, if they did it individually or in groups. I will explain that. And also, we tell them that the fabrication of information and just providing information from different sources without citing is also another form of plagiarism. And of course, the use of AI and ChatGPT in the preparation of the assignments. So all the assignments are submitted on Blackboard with Safe Assign enabled. However, Safe Assign cannot detect if the students used ChatGPT. It can detect if it is if there is the plagiarism. It can detect if, for example, a student submitted an assignment in my course and in another course. It can detect that, but it cannot detect if the student used ChatGPT. So what do we do here? First of all, we are just now using exploring ChatGPT. We have an idea if the language is a human language in the assignment, or if it's generated by an artificial intelligence program. Also, ChatGPT uses specific words like delves, encompass. It has a vocabulary. So because if we ask it to generate information, we can come up with an index of really a group of words that ChatGPT uses. If we have a doubt, we tell the student, and also we can go on ChatGPT and generate the information, because when students unfortunately use ChatGPT, they don't even paraphrase. They don't even change. They take it copy paste. And if we also, in my assignments, it should be, I recommend documentation sources in the rubric. So I know ChatGPT cannot generate an academic paper. it cannot provide us with the sources at the end. It's only like information, like we are doing a Google search, but it's an information in a more straightforward way. If the responses matches, we can take the student, we give a 0 on the assignment, and if the cheating practice is repeated also once, if it is done, the student is transferred to the disciplinary committee, and this way can impact on succeeding the course. Another practice that we do also is when I give like a written assignment, and I give a deadline for the students to submit it on Blackboard. When for example, if today is the deadline, when I go to the classroom today, I ask the students, I give like a few minutes, I ask each student, or sometimes I invite them to the office hour, I ask them questions about details, addressing details in the assignment. So if the student really prepares the assignment, he or she will be able to elaborate, to explain, to clarify. If they didn't, it will show that they didn't do also the work. Another practice that we do is our assessment, the design of our assessment. For example, the midterm exams and the final exams, we do them face-to-face. We don't do them online. And they have a very heavy weight. For example, our midterm exam is 30% from the total, which is 100. The final exam represents the 40%. They are done face-to-face, no use of mobile, no use of computer. We have a strict policy about cheating during these exams. And for the quizzes, the short quizzes and the assignments, they represent the 30% from the total, which is 100 for about the GPA for the final grade. And even though we have the midterm exam, and the final exam, which have the huge weight, we undertake and we apply these strict policies in the detection of plagiarism or the use of AI in the assessment. And I want to thank you because I am just done now. I don't know if you have any questions before I give the platform to Sean.
Oh, no question? Okay.
No questions? Okay, so we can continue. Now, Sean will discuss these ethical practices in his context.
So now I'll talk a little bit about our context within HKUST. Am I in the right? There we go. Okay. Just coming a follow-up to with what Murielle said. Yes, some students do not check their work. I have received assignments that begin with, certainly, let me help you with that. So there's a problem there. Generative AI and teaching and learning. So I'm going to talk a little bit about from the context of Hong Kong. And I'll talk mostly about our university, but also a little bit about what other universities are doing in Hong Kong too, because we do talk to each other. At the very beginning, we're going back a year now, but really is January when it really erupted in Hong Kong. A lot of people viewed generative AI technologies something like this, something that was going to attack academic integrity. We have to worry about cheating. What are we going to do about our assessments? Some universities banned it immediately. Others weren't so certain. By the way, I chose transformers as the metaphor for this because of two reasons. One, we're in Tokyo, Japan, and well, three reasons. The other one is I'm a product of the 80s. And also third, if you know the technology and large language models and how they work, the master technology behind them is the transformer, right? So this metaphor works quite well. Others started to look at large language models and ChatGPT as a main example, as something that was going to transform education. And we should embrace it. So our university, for example, embraced it immediately. But I'm going to make an argument that while I think we should embrace it, we do need to be mindful of the other transformer, the Decepticon, I guess you could call it, that wants to destroy academic integrity. So it's not a binary issue, right? And we should be approaching this holistically. And I think that's the perspective that we should be taking, and that's the perspective we're taking, at least at HKUST. There's various reasons for this. One, we need to understand that AI isn't new, and how AI works, and it's on the right, AI in education. We can think of it as machines and how they perceive the world and how they approach problem solving. It's very differently than, say, how humans perceive the world and how they approach problem solving. And now that we're having AI integrated into our daily lives more frequently and more commonly, right? Just don't think about Grammarly or anything like that. Everything from a chatbot that you have to deal with the banks and so on. We're having more and more with a human AI collaboration. And what happens then, right? We have the machines and all the biases and the algorithms that are going into them, but then we also have our own biases as humans. And when they combine and they start solving problems together, how many of us are truly literate in critical thinking and problem solving, let alone in AI literacy? So these are some of the things that we need to be mindful of. And so this is the approach that we're taking at UST with this mindset involved. We want to explore how we can use AI as a dialogic partner, right? In that sense, it's chatbots operate in a way that they have a conversation, just like I said. It says, certainly, let me help you with that. I can do that, right? ChatGPT, which, by the way, I think we also need to avoid focusing just on one tool, right? Anthropic, Bard, all the other companies, they're just as much a part of this as well. We also need to think about AI as assistants, providing real-time resources and feedback during lessons. How can we make use of this? OpenAI released the GPTs, the agents that we can not program, we can customize. And some people are exploring ways of using these to individualize learning. And so how can we customize learning with AI and driven content adaptation and AI and collaboration learning? Can we use it to foster peer interaction with students, whether online or within a physical setting? We're also looking at the implications of assessment design because as most of you have probably already talked about within your own institutions, is we need to rethink assessment design. The product approach is not the best measurement of students' learning outcomes, right? If they can so easily cheat. I'm using the cheat in a general sense here, but if they can produce something with a generative AI tool. So we need to shift, and this is a work in progress. I say we're doing this at UST, but I don't want to give you the impression that we're 100% successful at it, right? But at least we're talking about it now a lot more. And I know the other universities in Hong Kong are doing this as well. So we want to move towards a process-oriented approach where we assess students at periods throughout the semester. But of course, this isn't always sustainable, especially for those courses that have 100 or more students. So it's a work in progress. We're also looking at, and we're experimenting, we're piloting it right now, one of the courses that I'm teaching, AI and marketing and feedback, where we have small stake quizzes in our course. Students must write it out hand by hand in the class. Then we scan it and we have a program that's been given a rubric and it will assess their written handwork, and it does it pretty accurately, and it will give them feedback and feed forward. I mean, it tells them how they might improve on their answer. And we make sure that we keep the human in the loop. We review everything that the AI graded. And I would say for the most part, it's 98% accurate. We've had to adjust marks a little bit here and there, but it's because of the rubrics that we've put into the system. So we're exploring this, and this would alleviate some of the workload problems and administrative problems that faculty members often have. Academic integrity, which we just heard about. I mean, of course, this is an issue, and it's on the minds of many people, students as well. By the way, back in January, when this was emerging, we did a survey with all of our students and faculty members, and we had about 700 students respond. And we asked them two simple questions. I mean, they're not real scientific questions, but they're two questions we asked them anyway. One, would you use ChatGPT to cheat? Right? And then we asked the other question, are you concerned about others using ChatGPT to cheat? And the results were somewhat surprising, but not really. The students, majority of them said, no, I would not use ChatGPT to cheat. However, the majority of students said, I am concerned about others using it to cheat. So this tells us a little bit more about humanity than it does about AI in some senses. What is interesting about this also is we did focus group interviews with students, and we asked them, what is your biggest concern about this? And they said, look, I don't really want to use it to cheat. I see that it hallucinates and I don't know how to use it properly, but I'm not sure professors know how to grade students now. And so I'm worried about fairness, right? So that's their main concern, at least what we're finding at UST. So we've come up with a couple of conclusions about this. One, we're not going to try and put in policies to try to detect ChatGPT. One, as we heard, that these detection tools are not reliable. They produce a lot of false positives, in particular that's relevant to this context in this area of the world. They're very biased against non-native speakers of English, and that's mainly because of the way large language models, work, right? So it tends to provide false positives. So we're very mindful of policing this kind of thing because we don't want to give the wrong message to students that we don't trust them. So what we've done at UST is we've basically just reminded them of academic integrity and academic honesty, and that the same rules apply as usual. On the flip side, well, how do we address the issue? We feel that's going to be a long-term work, but we're going to first start with faculty development, have them understand the consequences, but also give them the freedom to choose. So this is our policy, and it needs to be flexible in our mind because the technology is changing. It's going to change in 1 year, it's going to change in 2 years. So what we're seeing today is just, it's not even the egg, it's something before, right? It's the early stages of generative AI or artificial intelligence in education. So we've given faculty members four choices that they can do within their courses. But the only policy that we made very clear is they must communicate this in writing to students because transparency is extremely important in order to maintain that trust between faculty and students. And different from the rest of the world, Hong Kong doesn't have access to ChatGPT. It's OpenAI for some reason just has decided not to release it. So the only way to access ChatGPT and Google Bard is through a VPN, although there are other tools like po.com that students can access. So what we've done is to encourage equity and accessibility and all the universities have done this to a degree as well. We're not the only ones. We've created our own ChatGPT using OpenAI's GPT software, but going through Microsoft Azure, which is actually more secure than just going through ChatGPT anyway, because the data is being protected through Microsoft Azure. Then we've come up with frameworks to guide faculty members to rethink assessment. And we've come up with a flow chart that asks faculty members to think about, well, can students use generative AI in their class? If the question is no off the bat, then these are the assessment types that you might want to consider, right? Traditional face-to-face exams, oral exams, and so on. But if you say yes, then we provide a framework and guidelines for faculty members to think about. Ensure that students have equal access. Communicate the learning outcomes. What are you expecting? Are you measuring the student's knowledge, or are you measuring something that's a combination of the student's knowledge with a collaboration with the AI? You need to think this through because that does matter in the end, because the student wants to know what they're being measured on in the assessment. And I won't go through all this text. It's just to illustrate that we try to give them different guidelines in the sense of they need to think about what kind of generative AI are they using, how can the students use it in the assessment, and so on. And we also ask what kind of tools. And then we give them some principles. such as offer the students additional support, modify the course structure, solicit regular feedback, and promote peer learning, and so on. So we provide this to help faculty members. On the student side, we're piloting a course now on academic literacy and critical thinking, and it's relevant to what I'm related to what I'm talking about right now, where we begin by talking about machine learning and large language learning models in the technical side and all the bias and all that. And then we get into a little bit about human cognition. We talk about system 1 thinking, system 2 thinking, and all the different cognitive biases that occur. And then we move into collaboration. What happens when humans individually collaborate with AI? What happens when groups, organizations use AI? And then we get really philosophical at the end to kind of tie it all together. We start talking about post-humanism and transhumanism. And the whole point of this is to get students to really understand the implications that AI can or might have on our critical thinking and how we approach problem solving. And this is the first step to AI literacy. So we piloted this semester. It will become a common core next year to more students. And I seem to, there we go. And then I'll just quickly wrap up this. We've done, as I said, we've done multiple professional development sessions, guest speakers, workshops with faculty members. We provide online, self-paced learning modules for faculty members to take, and they get badges, and they can use those badges for their appraisal with their department heads. And we also put out a call for proposals where we put in 10 million Hong Kong dollars for faculty members to get a grant of 250,000 Hong Kong dollars to experiment with AI in the classroom. And they do that over a year, and we give them feedback on how well they're doing it. So it's a multi-pronged approach that we're taking to integrate and get both faculty members and students ready for AI. And I kept in with my 8 minutes, I think. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sean, for this insightful presentation. Justin?
So we at Minerva, I don't actually work for a university. I work for Minerva Project, which works with other universities and educational institutions to build innovative, often technology-supported programs. So we kind of have been thinking a lot about how AI gets used, and certainly we look a lot at the kind of work that Sean and his team are doing in terms of assessment, particularly. Minerva is very much about the transfer of what we call durable skills. And so, you know, the whole idea of sitting through a semester-long course, doing an exam or writing an essay at the end, and then expecting that to sink into a student and be able to allow them to transfer that knowledge to new context over their lifetimes, it's just not a very effective approach. So we look a lot at particularly how AI can support faculty in doing more formative assessment throughout the semester. So there's more opportunity for students to give output and to do things. And then the AI gets used as tools that obviously it's a huge burden on faculty to have to do that much assessment constantly. So some of the examples that Sean showed of being able to have the AI actually do the assessment, and then that then gets sort of, it's meta, right? That then kind of gets reviewed by faculty to make sure it's right. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there, particularly with how we are able to kind of change some of these assessment models so they're A, more authentic, and B, have a stronger role to play in forming these durable skills.
Thank you so much, Justin. Now Tati will discuss the integration of AI in the teaching learning process.
Excuse my voice because I'm having a cold, and then hopefully everyone can still follow my presentation despite my funny voice. Okay, thank you for the opportunity, Murielle, and thank you for initiating these panels. I'm learning a lot from the process. Initially, I was having a kind of a fuzzy idea about what AI in education and what is the the development in education field. But yeah, I'm learning. I'm still learning. And thank you, Justin, and thank you, Sean. It's a pleasure to be here and then sharing the same platform. I'm gonna be sharing a couple of slides. I'm gonna type myself, making sure that I'm aiming for 8 minutes. Hopefully, I'm not exceeding the time. I'm gonna start off by stating my positionality. So I'm gonna make it clear where I'm from, what I know about AI or ChatGPT. So like many others, I'm still learning about AI, especially ChatGPT and its application in education. Initially, I learned a lot from watching a lot of YouTube vloggers, some random YouTubers about how to do some basic things about AI, about how I can log in and then sign up myself into ChatGPT. But currently, I'm beginning kind of screening, following what I think that I contribute to my understanding about AI in relation to research and education. And currently, I'm following Ethan Mollick from Penn University. I think he's interesting because he documents and research AI and its impact in classroom, and he shared it publicly. So we can learn a lot as also he's learning. In the process of his learning, we also learn from him. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that he's documenting his learning. I also gain insight from public lectures, such as those from Digital Future Institute at Teachers College, Columbia. So my presentation will be largely based on this insight. So let me cover the basic. I know I'm sure everyone here more than the basic, but I just want to make sure that we have the same kind of basic understanding about what AI means here. AI uses data to make a prediction. So there's a predictive data when we are messaging or emailing, when we are doing Gmail. Sometimes it just offering some kind of text that probably suits to our needs. And the recommendation, AI recommend us with shopping. When you go to Amazon or Spotify, they have algorithms. So we knew this for for a long time. But there is also a terminology called generative AI. There is an AI that generates something new based on your text prompt and the AI's training data. There's also a terminology called large language models, or LLM. Basically, it consists two main components. There's training data and prompt. There is a large data and also prompt to use in order to generate data. Okay. Let's move on to one of the main components of the LLM, that is AI prompt. So in general, we can categorize into 3 categories of AI prompt crafting. So because the quality of how you generate a text will depend on the quality of your prompt. So there are 3 main categories. The first one is more basic, the approach one. There's basic question. So let's basically we let AI do the work prompt. Like for instance, I'm using a poetry, like write a poem about spring. So I'm simply typing in this statement, asking at ChatGPT or any AI to write a poem for us about spring. Whereas the second one, approach 2, there is a restriction and user knowledge prompt. For instance, this is we type in this statement or this prompt, write a haiku about spring. Instead of just spring poetry, we ask haiku, specifically mentioning about haiku. And also some user knowledge prompt, like remember a haiku has a 5-7-5 syllable structure. We are telling AI that we would like to have specific haiku with this kind of structure. Whereas the approach 3, that is co-edit or conversational prompt, is about inviting AI to collaborate or to construct together there is a poetry about spring. For instance, let's write a haiku about spring together. I'll start with the first line, blossom bloom anew, and your turn to write the next line. So this is more, I think, refined compared to the approach 1. I learned from Malik and Malik in 2023. This husband and wife, they documented their research with their own student in classroom at Penn with business student. So they are crafting a number of set of prompts for different purposes and then experimenting with their own student. So when they are releasing the report about their experimentation with their student, they come up with 7 approaches of AI for students. The first one is AI tutor, that is personalized tutoring and guidance. For instance, an AI tutor analyze a student's strengths and weaknesses in math and provide customized lesson and exercises to address individual learning needs. Number 2, AI as coach, improving specific skill or performance. For instance, help students improve their writing skills by providing real-time feedback on grammar, structure, and syllabus and style. And an AI as a mentor. As a mentor, AI gives student feedback on their coding projects, suggesting alternative solution and providing explanation to help them improve their programming skills. This is one example that they have developed in crafting the prompt as AI as a tutor. I'm gonna read you just the first part. This is the prompt that they wrote. You are an upbeat, encouraging tutor who helps students understand concept by explaining ideas and asking student questions. Start by introducing yourself to the student as their AI tutor who is happy to help them with any question. Only ask one question at a time. First, ask them what they would like to learn about. Wait for the response, then ask them about their learning level. Are you a high school student, college student, or professional? Wait for the response, then ask them what they already know about the topic they have chosen. Wait for a response. Given this information, help students understand the topic by providing explanations, example, analogies. There should be tailored to student learning level and prior knowledge or what they already know about the topic. So the way they're crafting this prompt, they put role and goal. For instance, in this prompt, they tell the AI who it is and how it should behave, what it is will tell student. And number 2, they also provide step-by-step instruction where, for instance, we are orchestrating the interaction with specific deadline so that students explain their goals and get help in an organized way. Number 3, they put constraint. In AI, that is help prevent AI from acting in unexpected ways. Some call it hallucinating, some call it, many terminologies. So they put constraint. And another one, they also put personalization. For instance, we ask students what they want to learn about, their learning level, what they already know, and etc. And the last one, this is very important in the field of education, they put about pedagogy. There is on the bottom part, the yellow part, they put a prompt saying that when a student demonstrated they know the concept, you can move the conversation to close and tell them you are here to help if they have further questions. So the pedagogy here, they provide the AI direction for how to help students learn, asking it to provide tailored explanation and example based on previous information. So these are some of the approaches, the remaining approaches that Malik and Malik offer. There is AI as a teammate, AI as tool, AI as simulator, AI as a student. And they came up with a structure prompt that very useful that we can copy from them. This is, for example, as AI as simulator. I'm gonna read it, but this is an example that how they structure the prompt and using, for instance, the pedagogy, very specific, the pedagogy aspect of the prompt. I think it's very useful for us to copy from this prompt. So I'm gonna move on to AI usage in the classroom and policy. AI used by higher education students. In general, they have this model, yeah. First, they're summarizing or paraphrasing text using AI. I think Grammarly or Quillbot are very popular among students. It also helps to understand difficult concepts. I think some of the panelists mentioned about this, and we use or to organize the schedule, answering homework question, assistant with writing assessment. These are the things that the higher education student use with AI. In Malik and Malik case, they use AI usage policy in their syllabus. For instance, they fully acknowledge about the availability of AI, and it is impossible to escape from AI or ChatGPT. So they acknowledge it. So in this class, it is encouraged to use AI in the assignment, but they have to acknowledge it. I mean, they have to be transparent about using it. So, and then the instructor basically telling, gonna teach students how to better craft their prompts so they can have better results. So this is like open policy in their course syllabus. And this is my own teaching and student. I have my own AI usage policy. I'm currently teaching this course called Education and Research Methodology for my MA student. So I'm telling them that in my course, it is assumed that many of you possess proficiency in the responsible use of AI tools. So we expect students to employ AI technologies ethically, maintain academic integrity, and be prepared to articulate their ideas, both in writing and orally during class discussion and presentation. The last statement basically telling them that I know the AI technology available out there can help you, but I'm still want to see you learning, and then the product of your learning through your being able to articulate your learning orally and then doing the presentation live in class. So that's basically what I'm telling. I'm not prohibiting them from using AI. So what I strive for in my teaching, I'm gonna be focused. I'm learning from many researchers and scholars that I'm focusing on how my students use AI in class, rather than whether or not whether I'm trying to catch whether or not they are using or not. So I'm not gonna do that anymore. In the beginning, probably yes, but I'm trying to understand how they are using it for their own benefit and be transparent. And also, I'm aligned with UNESCO human-centered approach to AI. That I'm glad they have some training with Indonesian teachers, university teachers. I wasn't part of it, but I'm glad UNESCO is becoming a forefront in putting human-centered approach to AI. For instance, these participants saying that our group's teaching simulation on how to create more inclusive teaching environment for the students so that they can be aware of the issues and apply ethics when using AI to prevent misuse of AI in teaching and learning process. I think this is the direction that I would like to see and see myself doing it myself. Thank you so much, Murielle, and thanks a lot. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Tati, for this very insightful presentation.
Thanks.
Okay, so thank you. Let's move on to Justin, who will discuss how AI will reshape the educational setting in the future.
That's easy. How much time do we have, guys? Time? Okay. I'm going to summarize the future of technology and humanity in like 5 minutes here. It's not an easy task, but and again, apologies for having to listen to me twice in one day. As I mentioned, Minerva, we work with institutions around the world, and so this is just a quote from a recent white paper we did. I think the important takeaway here is that there's an opportunity for transformative change. Leaders will need to capitalize on that opportunity. It isn't necessarily a given. Anytime we talk about the future, I think it's really important to put things in context. So I'm going to say some very, very basic things here, but I think that these serve as important reminders. We have seen massive changes in both technology and our society over the last 30 years, and the preceding 30 years before that saw massive changes. How many of you teach? Raise your hand if you teach. How many of you began? Keep your hands up. How many of you began your teaching career before 1990? Okay, a couple. All right. How the hell do you teach without PowerPoint or the internet? Like, how do you prepare a semester? Like, right? it's like foreign to me. But at the same time, I imagine if most of us were dropped into a classroom in 1990 or even 1963, it wouldn't be that foreign to us. It would still be recognizable. And similarly, if they were brought up into today's classrooms, I think that they would still be recognizable. So I don't think that what we're going to see over the next 30 years, while it will be transformational in some respects, I think we need to put this in a broader context. And at the same time, education needs to exist in context. It doesn't exist in isolation, right? We're tied to the limitations of human social structures, what the environment can support, capitalism, the world of work. I mean, there's a lot there. So none of this is going to be able, education doesn't move by itself. So I think what that means is we're going to see incremental changes as opposed to something like what we saw with COVID, where all of a sudden we were just operating under a completely different paradigm. And the other point that I want to make is that development doesn't happen evenly. Okay, so we're going to see things in different contexts. A lot of what we've been talking about seems like the future and seems revolutionary, but it's actually already happening in many places around the world, and it'll happen in some places faster than others. And so some of these things like AI-driven assessment and adaptive learning software, like there are companies that are already working on these things. Okay, so this is not 10 years from now. This is now. This was an interesting piece of research by HKUST. They researched, they asked institutional leaders where they saw big changes happening already now. So a third of them are talking about changes that are already happening. And some of the biggest areas for change that they think will be impacted in the near term, IT is no surprise, instructional technology, but faculty research. And that's the part that I really want to talk about here. We heard a little bit about impact on teaching and learning. Certainly every aspect of the educational endeavor is going to be impacted. I'll skip this for now, but what I think is really, really going to be transformational for the field is the impact that generative AI is going to have on research. Right now, we do our research, we have our findings, and maybe some of us follow journals, and occasionally somebody does a meta study, and they're able to look at a lot of things. But these tools, these generative AI tools, are going to be able to look across broad swaths of research, across disciplines, across contexts, and be able to give us one paragraph, one page summaries of things that we want to know, pulling ideas from the journal of biology education classes, or medical education, or legal education, or not even education at all, but engineering or biosciences and all these other things, and be able to draw insights from that, which I think is really, really going to change the nature of how we interact with research, and how we actually produce research as well. So as many of you know, right now, when we research and we produce our findings, it looks kind of something like this, right? We have snapshots. Okay, somebody looked in this classroom with this group, and this is what happened, and this was the outcome. And then we did something slightly different with this other group here, and this was the outcome. And then in this context, we did this. And it's really, really hard to find the threads and the commonalities before. But these generative AI models are going to be able to look at all of this and sort of give us a bigger picture of where the patterns are. We may not like what we see. It may be kind of scary, but it'll be really one of the first times that we're going to be able to do that. And that is going to be, I think, very, very empowering for educators and practitioners to be able to go into these models and say, here's my context, tell me what I should be doing that is going to lead to most effective learning outcomes, and be able to get real evidence-based answers back. So that will be, I think, really, really transformational. I'll just leave you finally. There's a really really interesting paper by Hamilton, Williams, and Tati that came out earlier this year. And they basically, it's provocative, and they basically said, with these new generative AI models, they see these models surpassing human intelligence pretty quickly. And human beings, we have limitations. So as you move into the 20, 30, 40, 50-year range, they list 4 possibilities of what our future relationship might look like. 1, we just simply ban it, which I think is probably unlikely. 2, we work side by side with AI. So, you know, we use it to supplement our work. But honestly, that from their perspective, they're saying the AI will actually do the work better than us and won't need us to do it. We just involve ourselves to make ourselves feel better, really. Transhumanism is, as Sean mentioned, where this is a little bit more 30, 40, 50 years down the road, where we start to have interfaces to upgrade our own hardware, so we're able to effectively work with it. And I think interestingly, they propose decoupling human beings from the economy. And just letting the AI run the economy for us, universal basic income, and that would drastically change our relationship to education and education's relationship to society. But, you know, I think that there are many other potential scenarios, so I'll leave you with some thoughts of going into the far future and maybe thinking of what kind of scenarios you might envision 30 years from now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Justin, for these insightful scenarios also, and controversial, especially when you mentioned economy and AI.